Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
This week we're looking at listeners' questions, and we're going to be looking at the facts around people with bad attitudes at work. How do you handle them? New job, what do you do? And that awful morning meeting. Right, without any more delay, let's get on with this week's show. Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. I am really sorry I have missed a week or so. Been very busy with a new role and didn't get time to record some when I was on the road. That's no excuse. I am back and I will be putting down a bit more content over the next few weeks for you to hopefully enjoy. But this week, I've got the pleasure of answering a couple of questions that have been sent in by you, the listeners. And thank you again for sending those questions in. It's been great. I'm not going to name everyone who sent questions in. There is a few to get through. But if you haven't got one in already, or if you just feel the urge to do it, please do. Please send them to managermattpodcast@gmail.com. And the first question was around a listener who asked me, one of my directs has just got a bad attitude at work. They're great at the job, but their attitude stinks. What can I do about it? And this is an interesting one because I know, and myself from experience, that attitudes are very difficult for people to be held accountable, because what you think as an attitude might be just the way they are, the personality. What you see as a negative body language, which you hear people talking around, might be just the way they are. Now, you'll get to know people and you'll get to know their ins and their outs over time with your team, and you'll know when people are not themselves, and you know that. But when it comes to behaviours, attitudes, realistically, you need to be looking at behaviours. So if you've got an individual who is, as the listener said, is very good at his job. So jobs can be broken into two very distinct areas. There's the actual physical role, the job, the process that the person does. That could be in an admin function, doing a data entry. That could be at a workstation, making sure work gets done. It could be physically doing a job as an engineer, welding or fixing. That's the purpose, the actual process that they do. And then you've got the people side of it, the skills that are more around us as social interactions. And both those can be broken into the actual idea of giving someone the behavioural feedback. And we've done the behavioural feedback model, and there is some shows a bit further back if you want to go over listen to the behaviour feedback model, but it's worth having a listen to them. But what that really is you are going to judge a person and make a decision on that person's behaviours, not their attitude. So what does that mean? Well, if that person's attitude is a poorly worded email, or a short answer with one of their colleagues, or basically a complainer, so you get these people who just moan constantly, and they don't really do much for the team, they're dragging the team down. You need to handle them at a behavioural level. Don't ever say you've got a bad attitude, because that's just going to get someone's back up. And obviously they'll say, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean? And then you're on your back foot because you're saying, well, you know what I mean. That's not how management works. So look at behaviour. So take an individual and you'll say, right, so-and-so, I've got some concerns around your behaviour, because when you do X, this generates a reaction, which is Y. And I feel and I know that affects my team and our team in a negative way. So what can you do differently? What can you change? Now, there's all sorts of different ways of doing the feedback model, and there's loads of different ways, but have a think about how you judge people on behaviour. So when you say, listener, that this person has a bad attitude, what behaviours are driving those thoughts around attitude? What are the behaviours that you can make that person change, or at least advise them of what can be changed? And what I would also say is, if you are going to have a behavioural conversation, firstly, you've got to make sure, how severe is this behaviour? Is it unacceptable behaviour? Does it cross any of the ethical lines of a society. Is it being belittling? Is it being sexist? Is it being racist in any way? Homophobic? Those definitely should be treated as a very, very serious offence and probably should go and will go through a formal process. But if this is your behaviour, underlying behaviours which are driving a division into your team, causing a bad working environment, making people not want to interact with this individual, then you are going to deal with that through the feedback model, through recording those conversations. And if you don't see improvement and you don't see that person getting better, obviously use your one-to-ones with that person. Then you can go down a formal improvement plan, or if worse, you'll be looking at a disciplinary or something if they're not seeing shoots, or you're not seeing shoots. So when you talk about attitude, look for behaviours and then put a plan in place after you've given feedback for that person to improve their behaviours by giving them tangible areas to improve. So I hope that helps. Question number 2, how do I start a new job? What's the best approach to delivering results as soon as I can? So great question again. So how do I start a new job? And I've started a few over the time, and I think the best way, in my experience, to start new roles is to, firstly, listen a lot more than you speak. So listen, be respectful, and understand what people are telling you. Take the time to walk in their shoes. If you're going into an area of an office, get to know what those people do. So spend your first week meeting people, introducing yourself, getting to know them. If it's a process at a manufacturing site, get out and see how the site works, how it all holds together. You'll start getting bombarded with meeting invites and emails. Read them, listen to them. If you don't understand them, don't worry too much. There's going to be a lot of noise. If you don't understand, what you will at first not understand is all the acronyms, the abbreviations is a better word. The abbreviations for things inside the business. So how do you listen for those? How do you understand them? And don't be scared to ask stupid questions. Whenever I started in a new place, the first thing I definitely say is I'm going to ask a lot of stupid questions. And I'm very open with people. And I say I'm going to listen twice as much as I speak for the first few weeks. And you start to get to know the place. I definitely try to spend a day in the life. So if you're looking at shifts, get in and talk to people at the start of shifts, or stay back and do the night shifts. Get to see people, get to meet people. Show them that you're a human. You're going into this organisation, especially if you're a manager and a leader at a higher level, they're going to be a bit worried about you. What are you here for? What are you meant to do? So try to get these people on your side, get the people at ease. You may have tough conversations for the future, but you need to build some foundation of trust at the start. And that all starts from day one. Making sure you're listening, making sure you're taking notes, making sure you're introducing yourself with a smile on your face. And it is difficult because you're new, you don't know where everything is. If you get lost, just laugh about it. If you go the wrong way or you don't fill something in right, have a little bit of humour at yourself. People will appreciate that in the long run. Be a person, as I say, get out, talk to individuals, talk to all the different levels. Don't just talk to your directs, get down a couple of levels, talk to other people, talk to people doing the work. Get time on the jobs. I've spent time in packing halls when I worked in packing factories and learning and watching and seeing how it works. Before you start making big changes, you're going to make notes about those changes. From day one, you'll spot where you can see some value. And I guess the second part of that question is, best approach to delivering results. Your manager, unless it's a very simple transactional process you're doing, won't expect you to be delivering full 100% in the first day or two, first week or two, even the first month or two. They expect you to get yourself in, get yourself embedded, and then start to add value. So there is that kind of graph where time versus value. There is going to be quite a lot of time where you're not adding value. You're learning, you're getting the ropes, you're asking the dumb questions. Don't worry about that. Don't try to be the smartest person in the room from day one, because you'll just turn people off. Be yourself and be honest and open, and just go through a very, very long induction. Take your time. Go ask the stupid questions. Go meet the people. Shake their hands. Get some introductions. If you're definitely going to a big organisation with lots of hierarchy, start to understand how it works. And then take time at the end of each day to spend half an hour just digesting it, taking it in. Write down the 3 questions or 5 questions you want to ask the next day that you might have missed. Next morning, come back to that list, see if it's still relevant, and then go ask them questions. So big takeaways from that is take your time, be yourself, ask the stupid questions, and don't worry about delivering results straight away. Hope that answers that question. And the last question, which is linked to a slightly different subject, was around what's the best way to set up a morning meeting? It's a production meeting I run at the minute, he says, but it's awful. Nobody likes it. Nobody brings any actions to it. And everyone really dreads it. It's just a waste of half an hour of my day. So it depends what business you're in. But if you're in a manufacturing or an output-driven business, and some call centres do it as well, there'll be a morning meeting. And the morning meeting usually has some metrics on a board, either electronically or physically. And then a number of leaders in their department heads, depending on what level in the business. And they usually, and this is where it really falls down, and it's something, listener, you may want to take on board, it's very backwards looking. It's looking at the last 24 hours. Now, the last 24 hours are a good point to say, how am I doing in my week? And there's nothing wrong with having a check. Are we making money? Are we delivering the service? Are we being safe? Is the quality right? All those things are important. But also, remember, you can't affect the past. You can only affect the future. So you need to be focusing the meeting to things that are in your power for the day. So it's great for the first 10 minutes to talk around the past. But then the next part of the meeting should be what's going on in the future. So what activities are we doing if there's been, say, a stock issue? What can we do to get back on track? If we had a large mechanical or electrical breakdown on a machine, how are we getting back on top? What are we doing to make sure the service is met? If there's a safety issue, how can we avoid that happening? So spin the meeting and start to break it down. It's a great idea to start saying to people, especially if you're the leader, sounds like you are the leader and you're frustrated with it. This meeting is going to have this agenda and it's going to start on time and it's going to finish on time. But it's going to look backwards for only 10% or 15 or 20% or whatever you think's right of the day. The rest of the time, the majority of the time, we're going to be looking forward. We're going to be talking about what we can affect today and the rest of the week. So that will help. A lot of times there's a lot of passengers in meetings, so look at your meetings, how many of those people actually need to be there and how many really are just passengers. And you will find a lot of passengers on these meetings. They turn up, they may have one line to do and then they drift off. They're thinking about their roles. So have a little bit of a think about who are the best people in there. Always look for actions out of a meeting. So if you're walking out and you think to yourself, well, nothing's changed. Sometimes that's the meeting. It's designed to just download information. But actually what you should be saying is, what are we escalating to this meeting that the people in this room that are usually a senior level or at least have skills are meant to try to resolve? Because realistically, if there's nothing to report, everything's green on the KPIs and everything's going in the right direction, the meeting should be very, very short if you're not looking forward, into that next realm of let's not reflect too much. Let's learn from what we've seen and what's gone wrong, but let's look forward. What can we do? What can we deliver? How can we change tomorrow to be better than we did today? So those are three listeners' questions. As I say, hopefully that's giving you a little bit of insight into a few pieces of work that I've done in the past and also future work that I'll be working on. If you have any more questions or this has provoked any more ideas around how you would manage meetings or deal with a person with a bad attitude or starting a new role, please send them to managermattpodcasts@gmail.com. I'd love to get your feedback on this show and future shows. All right, okay. Well, that's it for Manager Matt this week. Hope you've enjoyed it and thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.